We're going to look at doing multiple shaders now, and multiple shaders. And the object that we use to hold these shaders is called the JIT-GL slab object. What we did before is we were working on a single shader and affecting the parameters of that shader, and then applying that shader to our object, whatever that object is that has the video texture. So if that object's a video plane, we're applying the shader to the video plane, or we're applying the shader to the sphere or whatever it is to affect that texture. But we're doing it to the object. Now what slab does is, instead of doing it to the object, it loads a shader and affects the texture independent of an object. And then you can have multiple slabs that do several effects. Each different effect is changing that texture. And then when you're done with that texture, then you send it to the object. So it's a little bit different architecture. So let's take a look at that. Let's start from the beginning. We're going to need a jit.world. And let's give it a erase color underscore color 0001, so we get our black color. Because we're going to be working with flat video planes today, let's ignore perspective. So to do that, we're telling it to do ortho 2. Ortho is short for orthogonal. Ortho 2. We're going to be blending video planes, so we want blend underscore enable 1, and depth. We're not going to be using depth because it's all two-dimensional. Depth underscore enable 0. Okay, and then we'll need a toggle. I'm going to resize this.
What should we save this as?
Oh, good call. Save this as 13.1, multiple shaders and slabs. Save as 13.1, multiple shaders and slabs. Toggle. Now, we're going to need some movie players. We're going to use 2 movie players to get 2 different textures. Start with a jit.movie. We're going to set the movie player for a texture output. So that's output texture 1 at we don't really need these, but whatever. At unique 1, that will increase your performance a little bit. At adapt 1, that will adapt the matrix for different sizes. Actually, we don't even need that. Take that out. That's an older thing. If we're working in textures, we don't really need that. At volume 0, so we don't go crazy with sounds all over the place. Whoops, vol space 0 period. There we go. And then we need to give it a texture name. Texture underscore name ch1. Great. And we'll need a read to be able to read a movie file into that. Okay. So this is what was confusing me yesterday, or last class, and why I ended up just doing one movie channel. Because when you have these movie players and you set them for texture output, I would think that if anything came out of here, it would be a texture. But when you hover over it, it says matrix out, not texture out, and the line is green, which implies that it's a matrix and not a texture. And that was really concerning me the other day. But then this morning when I was preparing, I just decided to just try it anyway, and it turns out that it's a misnomer that when you do have it set for texture, this isn't a matrix, it is a texture, and I can prove it to you by loading a file to play. Oh, right, we need bangs. It's not gonna, oh, there we go, now it's right. I just didn't have it turned on, that's why. And look, if I send it into a text, into a message, it tells you what it is, and it says, look, here's his GL texture channel 1. So it is a texture. So this should be blue and not green. And it shouldn't say matrix when you hover over it, but whatever. It's a texture if you tell it to be a texture up here at texture output 1. So we send this, we can send this into a JIT P window if you want to look at it. So there's our movie playing. Okay, so let's send this into the slab now, where we're going to load a shader file. So JIT GL slab. And take this and put it into its input there. Okay, and actually now we can move this down here, so we can see what's coming out of the slab. All right, so right now it looks the same because we haven't loaded any shader. But if we're going to load a shader, it's the same thing like a movie file. You just send it a read message. Read. Now you can go to here, click on shaders. Whatever. We could dig through this and find the exact shader that we want, but instead let's do a U menu. There's a new trick I learned this morning. U menu. If you go into the inspector, I think this is new as a Mac 7 because I've never seen it before this morning. If you go into the inspector on U menu and you go down here to collection name and choose shaders, they pre-populate. Oh wait, hold on. That didn't. Maybe I have to have auto populate. There we go. If you have auto populate checked and you click collection name shaders, it will automatically fill the list with all the shaders in the Macs without having to do any crazy open dialog folder and all the shit we were doing yesterday. Last week. And it's a lot cleaner and easier to understand too, so it's better. So that's what you should use from now on. You just a new U menu, and then in the inspector for the U menu, make sure that you have auto populate checked, and then underneath auto populate there's a collection name, and change that to shaders, and then it will automatically populate that with all the shaders that you have loaded in your Macs. So now we can use this and just, instead of having a read, we can make this a read $1, and then take the middle outlet of this, right? Because the middle outlet is the name, and send that into the read. If we did the first outlet, it would be the item number that you chose in the list, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that wouldn't help us any. Okay, so now we can choose different shaders. Let's go down and choose something easy to play around with, like let's try twirl. And you see it gives us that nice twirling effect. Okay. Why aren't they in alphabetical order? Because they are in alphabetical order, aren't they?
They're in like A, P, C, 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 O alphabetical, but not the actual like.
C, G, M, O, P, H.
What is the first 2 letters?
No, they're in order. They're in alphabetical order. It's just they go off of the very first 2 letters, I think.
Yeah, what are the first 2 letters? What does that say?
Okay, so that is what type of shader it is. So CC is I don't know. I know CO is composite. I know that. I know TD is texture displace. because it's classifying based on kind of what it's doing. And then op is just math operations. GN are generators, things that make content without having any input, like a brick wall or checkerboard pattern. MAT are materials. I just don't know what CC stands for, but it's mostly, I think it's color change. Or I think those are all different color things. Yeah, they're color correction. Ha ha ha. Color correction. Yeah. Okay, so we'll go into the parameters of this in a minute, but let's just start by let's chain this with another effect, and then we'll look at the parameters of each effect after we get these chained. All right, so just have another slab, and let's copy this. Actually, here, instead of copying just the slab, copy all of these. And pass this into the inlet of this slab. And now let's put another JIT-P window down here. Okay, and now let's load another one. Some of them won't do anything because if they're not for what you're trying to do, they won't work. Like if you tried to do a math operation, it might not do it. Or something that moves around vertices, vertex displacements, that's not going to help us. But let's do something that I know will give us some easy to see effects like ripple. Where's ripple?
Right above where your mouse
TD
is.
ripple. It should be TD ripple. Somewhere. Oh, there it is. TD ripples.
Oh my goodness.
What?
It's so ripply.
So ripply. Right? Okay, great. So you see how that's working. Those and slabs can hold both unary and binary effects. These are both unary effects. They're being applied to one video channel. But some of these effects are like compositing effects that are meant to composite two different video channels together. And it can, the same object can house those. And by default, the slab will have two inputs. We just aren't using the second input for these unary effects. You can have more than two inputs. If you have some, I don't think Max comes with any shaders that have 3 inputs, but there are shaders out there that maybe you have some kind of special shader that takes multiple inputs. And you can add extra inputs to the slab by saying at inputs, I think. I thought you can add it. I thought I saw that in inspector. Could have sworn I saw inputs right there. Could have 5 inputs if I wanted to.
So it's just in the inspector.
Yeah, it's in the inspector. I guess it doesn't have an at symbol for it. But anyway, you probably won't need that. You probably only need. Usually, you will only need 2 inputs at most, so you just usually don't have to change that. Okay, if you double click the slab, it shows you the coding language of the shader that you have currently loaded. See? So if you wanted to, if you knew a lot about programming shaders, you could make a little change here and save it as something else if you wanted to.
What language is it?
Shader language?
It's its own language?
Yeah.
So you can't like copy the code into something else?
No, it's an OpenGL shader language. I haven't gotten into writing my own shaders yet. That's pretty advanced.
Right.
I think that if you get some shaders from other places that aren't made for Max, that it sometimes doesn't work with Max, that you have to make some minor changes to like conform it to make it work, but it is possible. There's lots of forum posts about how to get shaders from really popular shader libraries into Max. Yeah. But yeah, so it's mostly a generic shader language that is the same in everywhere, but there's just a few Max idiosyncrasies that you have to sometimes conform. Okay, what's next? Let's see. Okay, oh right, we're gonna look at a compositing shader, a third slab. So, oh, did I never even load this ripples? There they are. Okay, great. And so let's duplicate all this again. And we're going to need a second movie player now. So let's duplicate this movie player. And this time change this texture name to channel 2. And we can read a different movie into this. Okay, and then pass that into the slab's input. Let's take a look at the P window there. And you could do something like most of the ones that composite start with CO. So let's do like you know, just additive is fine, and that does an additive blend of those two textures. All right, let's look at some parameters of these. So remember, when you're sending parameters into either a JIT-GL shader or a JIT-GL slab, that you're always sending the word param followed by the name of the parameter and then the value. So you'll often be prepending the word param before. You can get a list of the parameters for the shader that you have loaded by sending a get param list message into the JIT-GL slab, and then the param list will come out of the dump outlet for that slab. So if I get param list, it says param list, and there's just two parameters, amp and phase, for this for that twirl effect. So what we can do is we can use this param list to generate a dynamically changing controllable parameter adjustment message. That's a really bad way of saying that. Let's break up this parameter list and use it to dynamically update a message box that we can use to change those parameters for that effect, and have that message box change when we load a different parameter. All right, we can do that. First of all, we don't need the word param list, so we can just route that out. So route param list, so that anything that has the word param, any list that starts with the word param list will come out of this first outlet, and it will remove that word param list. And now it just says amp and phase. Then we can take that and we can take that and trigger list clear. What we're going to do is we're going to create a little. We're gonna populate a little U menu with these different parameters. With this trigger list clear. So this first, we're going to have the first thing that comes out is to clear the message clear, right? Output order 1 clear, and that will send into the U menu so that whatever was there before, like the parameters of the whatever effect we had loaded before we loaded a new effect, that it clears those out first. Whoops, I attached the wrong one. Clear. And then the second thing it does is then add those items to the U menu. So this is a list, and we need to go through, iterate through this list one item at a time. And to do that, there's an object called iter. I think we've talked about it maybe once in this class. That'll iterate through a list. And then we're going to need to append those to the list. Actually, we need to prepend the word append. It's really confusing when you have to do, but you'll have to do this prepend append maneuver all the time. It's really common. Prepend append. So then it adds the word append before all those list items. And then when you send append in the list item, it adds it to the list. So this should create a list with our two different things in it. And now we can use this to make the dynamically changing message. All we need is a message box. We're going to need, okay, so we could just do this. No, we can. We have to structure this message correctly. So we're structuring the message. How do you send a parameter message? Anybody remember? What does it start with? If you're sending a parameter message into the JIT-GL slab, starts with the word param, right? So we have to say param, then the name of the param, one of these two names, and then the value. So first thing we need to do is we can take the name coming out of this menu and prepend the word param. So now, now what's coming out is this. If I choose amp, it says param amp, right? Now we just need our wildcard, our $1. So we're going to need to append $1. And now send that into a message box, the right inlet of a message box. And now if I choose amp, it says param amp $1. And all I need to on the left inlet is have a float go into that. And now if I had, now the message is composed. Amplitude, param amp, and then the float value for that parameter. So then we can just send that into the slab. So now if I wanted to change the amplitude of this, I can just move this float around. And you can see that P window here is changing how that twirl effect is twirling. If I wanted it to be phase, I can do the same thing, and that's changing like where it's starting its rotation. All right, so that's how you can make a dynamically updating message. Let's add some functionality to this. Right now, this only works with this one slab. What if I want to change the effects to all of these different things, right? It's pretty simple. All we have to do is have this list, have it route itself where it's going based on some kind of routing symbol. So we can just add a routing symbol before the param list that would that we could use to separate the different layers, the different effects layers. So this is the first slab, this is the second slab, and then the last one's the third slab. So we could just prepend 1, 2, and 3. Prepend 1 on this slab. And then, whoops, then connect this to that prepend 1. And actually, instead of directly connecting this, let's do some sends and receives so this doesn't get crazy messy. Let's just do this send slab list. Okay, and we can actually just do the same send on all of them. So grab this here, the prepend 1 and the send slab list, and duplicate that and bring it down here. And change the prepend 1 to prepend 2 for this second slab. And then same thing down here. And change the prepend to prepend 3. Okay. Then we need to receive the slab list. So I'm just going to duplicate one of the sends and change the S to an R. And before we route for param list, we'll route for 1, 2, and 3. Route 1, 2, 3. Now, all of these, what we're going to do is this one, whether it comes out of 1, 2, or 3, we're just going to use that to determine where this message down here goes to, right? We don't need to separate out anything in this middle part. So all 3 of these outputs, if it matches 1, 2, or 3, can go into this route object because we don't care. But what we do care, the whole reason why we routed these out is so that we can send these out to a specific send. This list, send it to a specific send, or to change a switch so that it goes to the right slab. So we could use a switch with 3 different, or a gate with 3 different outputs, and then have 3 different connections to the slab, or we could do 3 different sends. Let's just do 3 different sends. I think that's probably the easiest. All right, so we'll need a gate 3 and gate 3 because it has 3 different outputs, and then we'll want to tell it to have one of them be open by default. So gate 3, 1. And then we just need to take this, so the lists will be coming through here, and we can just have these trigger a message that opens the gate to the right position. So let's see. In order to see that visually, that makes sense, let's use a radio group. Radio group, and then change the inputs. Change the radio group number of items to 3, and that will tell you. That will let you only click one of these things, so either position 1, 2, or 3, right? And that sends, if you put a message on this, that sends a 0, a 1, or a 2. When we want the gate to work, we don't want it to actually get a 0 because that would close all the gates. So we just need to add 1 to this. So plus 1. Radio group. And then send that into the gate. And now if I click this middle thing, and you hover over this gate output 2 is currently open. and gate 1 is closed and gate 3 is closed. And if I change this to 3, now 3 is open, gate 2 is closed, and gate 1 is closed. So send the param list
Make it have 3 things?
through this gate. Sorry.
In the
In the inspector,
Oh, okay,
items
sorry.
3.
Just trying to type it in.
So then take the param list, a message here that we've composed, and send that into the right inlet of this gate. Like this. And then what we can do to trigger this radio group to be in the right place, we just send it a 0, 1, or a 2. 0, oops, 1, 2. And then have each one of these route things trigger that value. Make sure you're going to the left inlet of these messages so that it doesn't replace the value. We just want it to trigger the value. So now if you click on get param list on this slab, on this first slab, see how this radio group now changes to the first position. If I put get param list on the second slab, which I think we never did a message for that. Now you see it sets this to the second gate position, and it's updated our list of different parameters. And if I do the third, same thing. Let me get param list for the third. Now it's set that gate output to the third position and has created a list of parameters for this third slab. So now we just need to have these gate outputs go to, we could either just directly connect them like this, or we could do some sends. And let's just do some sends to keep it nice looking. Let's do send params _1. Duplicate that twice, and then change this to params _2 and params _3. Send your gates to each one of those sends. Now we're going to duplicate these sends and change them to receives. Parameters 3 is going to go down here, go into this slab. Parameters 2 is in the middle, going into the center slab. And parameters 1 is going to the first slab. Don't need this P window anymore. Okay. So if you now, all you have to do in order to play around with the parameter is click the get param list for that slab. So if we wanted to mess around with our ripples, click on get param list for the ripples. Here's our param list. Choose what parameter we want to affect. Let's play with frequency, and now change this value here. And now we can change the frequency for that parameter. Let's try this param list. Let's try the additive compositing. Amount, texture 1 and 0. I think amount is probably the only one that really does anything. And that kind of does a crossfade between one and the other. So at mount 0, you get mount 0. It looks like you get all of texture 1, and then at amount 1, you get a composite of texture 1 and texture 2 with an additive blend. Does this make sense?
Yeah, but it's not working. Yeah.
Not working.
So whenever I do the amount on the third slab, it's changing the video in all three.
Do you have your send params? Did you change your params, your sends and receives?
Yep, send 1, 2, 3 going into the.
And your receives, do you have a receive 1, 2, 3?
Yep, got to receive 1, 2, 3.
And when you send, it's changing when you're changing amount, it's changing what?
When I change amount, it looks like it's changing. I can't tell what it's changing. It's definitely doing something, but I can't tell what.
What's your issue?
I think it's like changing the ripple effect in some way.
All right, let me just look at yours. I don't know. Sounds to me like it's working.
I mean, yeah, but it's not doing the crossfade thing, right? So this right here should be doing this crossfade thing.
All right, where's your amount? All right, well, you're way too high. Do it. Go down to amount 0. And now it's
I'm not sure this mine's not working right now.
Yeah,
What is weird?
but wait.
But it's changing something.
Which one? Oh, this?
Yeah, no, it's working.
That's right.
Yeah.
You go
Yeah.
over here to
So I was
files,
Yeah.
collection name.
Yeah.
and
Well,
then
dang it,
share.
it works.
And then you click auto populate.
Well, you're on.
All
Which one are you wanting to work on? Whichever one you want the parameters for, click on the Get Param List button for that layer. So that would give you those. And the other one, and that has 3 different things. The first one may only have 2 different values possible for it. Okay.
Oh, this one, you just make it a U menu and then it'll change.
Jackson,
Yeah.
That's what I was saying,
Append.
because I actually,
The menu is underneath it? Was it just?
well, I mean, like, you haven't pushed it.
What is that?
Okay, so that is just a blank menu box.
Blank menu.
But when whatever you choose from this menu,
It's not gated.
when that goes through this system of stuff, then it goes in the right inlet, and then it creates this message. And then the left inlet replaces the $1 with the value. Does that make sense?
Kind of.
So when you're coding this is just a blank menu, a blank message. But as soon as you choose something from this menu, then it creates this message to be param amount $1. If it was amplitude,
Okay.
if I changed amount to amplitude, it would change this to param amplitude $1.
And that menu gets populated by.
This menu here,
Yeah,
gets populated by param list. So when
right.
Get
Which
param
goes back
list.
to- Okay.
Get param list it goes through here, it prepends 2 so that we can separate it out down here. But you can pretty much ignore that. It goes through this slab list. This is
right.
where it gets routed to the 1, 2, and 3, but they all go to the same place up here, and the param list gets taken off. Then the next thing that happens is this clear message comes down, clears out whatever was in there. Then the list of the different parameters gets iterated through this iter object, and then we add the word append to each one of those parameter lists. And then when we send that message into the U menu, it adds the different items to the U menu. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I understand the logic of it now.
Yeah.
What's the name of the object that has the?
This radio group.
What if our menus are blank?
Then as soon as you hit param list, it should make a menu.
Oh, okay.
Param list.
Get parameters, right? Okay.
Yeah.
I love it when I miss a step like that.
Okay. So make yourself a little message or a little note here saying, press get param list to change effect parameters. Something to that effect.
and Jackson.
Yeah.
My video player is doing something funky. It keep flashing.
Yes, that's mine.
Do you have a flash?
I mean, it could be having to do with the.
I wish, bro.
Do you have anything that has?
It actually started.
Well, you have two different video signals going into it. That's why. That should be going into the slab, not into your P window.
Pretty
Yes.
sick though.
Okay.
That goes into the slab, not into your P window. Nope. Other inlet of the slab. There you go.
Oh.
You use it?
Okay. Let's get rid of this P window. We don't need it anymore. Let's put it in the actual universe. All right. It's 2:00. All right, we're doing all right. We are always running out of time. All right. So if we wanted to have this go into an actual window, we could put it. We'd need to put it onto a JIT video plane. JIT GL video plane. Let's have this at blend enable 1 at depth enable 0. There it is.
Oh wait,
Shit.
go back. Go back.
Oh, hello.
Depth enable 0. And then the only thing we need to do with this is we could do our little dimension trick, our get dimension trick that we used before. Let's see, would it be quicker just now? It's not that hard. Let's just code it really quick. Route dim, and then an expression expr, and then this expression parentheses $float 1 divided by 1 divided by $float 2 end parentheses, make that a 2. Sorry.
Can you zoom in? Oh, thank you.
He is
That's so
not
much
surprised.
better.
Wasn't me this time.
Bam.
Okay.
You were thinking of that.
And then we just come out from the dump outlet of one of these movie players. We'll just use the first one since most of the effects go through that. And then send this into a message scale $1 because we're working on the X scale 1 period 1 period. And then send that into the video plane down here. And then all we have to do is get dim.
So we're saying
Scale to the video plane.
Ah.
Then as soon as you hit get dim, then it should automatically fix those dimensions to be the correct dimensions. Because all we've done there is we're taking the dimensions. So what's coming out here? 320 by 240, and it's dividing 240 by it's dividing 320 by 240, and then that's you end up with that 1.333 to 1. It gives you the ratio of the width to the height, and then if you multiply that by the scale, then it creates the correct ratio for whatever video you happen to load.
Can you just scroll down a bit so I can start that for a second? In the back. I mean, as much as I love this old guy blowing.
So is that supposed to auto scale when we like change the size?
It will only scale when you hit this get dim. So if we wanted it to automatically update, then I don't know. Let's see. I think something comes out when we read a new movie out of the dump outlet. Let's see what comes out of the dump outlet. So read a new movie. Make sure you attach a message and to the right inlet of a message on the dump outlet. Now load a new movie into your movie player, and it says read Ozone movie 1. So we could do something like this. We could route read. And so anytime something that says read, it's going to come out this route object. And then we could just trigger that, trigger get dim. So whenever we read a new file, it will automatically get the dimensions for that file, like that. So now, if I'm reading, it automatically resizes itself. Okay? That's it for this. Now I wanted to take some time to go over anybody's any issues that you guys wanted me to cover today. Remember, today was our cleanup. Is there anything, first of all, on this that still isn't clear that you want me to look at or go over?
Scale
My
one.
scaling's not working.
Scale one is going into
Video plane. Video plane.
It scales the height, but not the width. Like it should be getting rid of this, right?
Yeah.
So like it does that.
So that is right. That's scale. Yeah, and did you route dim? Go up, route dim.
Get them. Route read.
Well, that was that was just
okay. Yeah. Oh, route them. I see.
okay. So put a message down here. Let's see what it is sending, and go into the right inlet, and now click the get dim up there. Well, that's right. That's the scale. And where is that scale getting sent to?
Scale's going into
The video.
plane.
That should be right.
It's scaling this. It's just not scaling this.
No, but that's the right aspect ratio. It's
Okay,
not
so
going to
it
change the
will
size of your
change-
window.
So it's going to change. It's going to keep the correct ratio.
Exactly. You're
Okay.
scaling the size of the video plane,
I see.
not the window.
I see. So
that creates the correct aspect ratio for that video plane.
well,
Anybody else is not working?
so that makes some sense.
Does anybody else have any questions on this?
I kind of do.
Yes. What's up?
So this video player works, but somehow this one doesn't work. No matter whatever I load from this side,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't show up here.
What? Okay. So it doesn't show up where?
On the.
All right. Well, let's start from the beginning. Let's put some P windows in here and just peek at what's going on. P window. All right. And pass that in from there to there. So there's definitely. Oh wait, it was there before. Go back to the main movie.
Let me change this to something else because I think it's.
Oh.
Yeah, it's showing.
Okay. No, the chicken's there.
Chicken's there.
It's there.
Oh, it's just super fuzzy that I didn't realize.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
All right, no problem. Yes.
Bye.
Yeah. So some of the effects may give you some weird results, but it's just the effect. You have to play around with the parameters. Sometimes the parameters have vastly different scales. Where some parameters go crazy if you give it a value of greater than 1. Other effects, the parameters you won't even notice until you get a value of 20. You know, it just depends on what the effect is and how they programmed what shader programming language they're using.
That was so scary.
All right. So, did anybody have any topics that they wanted me to go over this class to be in preparation for your final projects?
Jitter.
Oh, I just saw his computer flying.
Oh, it was so scary. What? How did we arrange where a window lives on the screen?
Okay. Well, what are you looking to do? Are you wanting, because when you full screen it, you can full screen it, and then it just takes up the whole screen. You're wanting a non-fold screened window to be in a different position on the monitor?
That I want, that or a full screen window with 4 video playing in a specific region.
Yeah, so that is easy enough. Just, all right, so let's look at that. Let's save this, save 13.1. New patcher. And JIT World. I'm not going to bother with the erase color or anything right now. I'm just going to have a JIT World and a toggle. Okay, then we're going to want 4 video planes. JIT GL video plane. 4 of them. Then let's see. Let's put these. They're going to have a quarter size scale or half size scale, right? So at scale 0.5, 0.5, 0.5. And then actually it's that we want to duplicate. And then we could just move these to different places. -1 or -0.5, -0.5, 0. Let's put something on these video planes so that we can see it. Here, there's a quick way to get video without having to do a movie player and all that. I showed you guys early in the semester, but we haven't been using it much because most of the patches we've been using don't lend themselves to this. But for this, you can just drag media right onto your desktop, and it creates a little movie player with the movie in it. But this thing isn't ideal for doing texture outputs and all that other shit. So it's just good for quick things, in my opinion. And then you could send that to the video plane. Oh fuck. Sorry. I hate how these have sound. All right. And do I see anything? My JIT World's not turned on. That's why I don't see anything. Probably my other video planes are on top of mine right now. So wait a second. That's probably too big. That looks like bigger than a quarter of the screen, right?
Yeah.
So maybe it is 0.25, not 0.5. And then you could just position them by sending position messages. So we have that one there. All right, so now let's duplicate this. And do positives instead of negatives here. See? So that you could just have, does that make sense? You could have them in different.
Yeah, I guess I was just wondering if there's a way to get the math of the size of the window. So right now they're not quite a quarter of the actual window.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a way to get the information how big the window, or determine how big the window is.
Yeah. I think it's I think you might have to do at full scale anti-alias. Maybe that does that. I'm not positive. Hold on. Let's look. And I'm not sure exactly if you have to do that, if you can do that here, or whether you have to do that with a message to the window. FSAA, let's see if that does it. At FSAA 1, does that resize things? Yeah, that's it. So you make the window FSAA 1 and then at full scale anti-aliases. Is that
Would you do that?
in the inspector? Or you could say JIT world at FSAA 1. And that will give you full scale anti-aliasing.
I have a question.
Yeah.
If we're done with that, how do you actually send that out to a different display?
So you would have more than one window, and you'd have different windows on different displays, just like different desktops. So you would have, instead of my, okay, so system preferences, instead of having my displays mirrored, I would have them,
Right.
and I could have JIT window. Have this one go into this window. Oh, wait. I might have to do the rendering thing. That's not working. I don't see anything on that window. Might have to go out of, let's see. Yeah, I might not be able to use JIT World. I probably can. I just don't know exactly how to do it because I'm not, that the JIT World's a little new to me. You might have to do a JIT GL render. But then you're going to need a Metro, Q Metro 60 Hertz with a toggle. And then trigger, bang, bang, clear. No, erase. This middle bang would be whatever you wanted it to do before it drew the next frame. Draw bang. There. Okay. So you could have this window. I know there's a way to do this. I think it's like a render to type of thing. You have to tell it to where to draw. Let me open up the GL render help real quick. Hold on. Yeah, that's it. It's the draw to. It's a draw to command. Send wind p wind matrix. Do I need? I might need two renderers then. I don't know, because you may only be able to draw to one place on a one renderer. So you may need 2 renderers. But
how have you, like, in the past, you send it to another media server to actually utilize? Like, how do you actually use it as a
no,
tool?
no, you would just have your window full screen, and it's creating. Okay, what I've done mostly in the past is work with Siphon.
So you
That's
siphon
not
it-
something we're going through in this class.
Right, but in order to, like, to actually get the signal out.
Right, I never even render it. I just send the video texture
QLab or to
to
something else.
Siphon, and then Siphon. Yeah, the Siphon goes into QLab. That's what I've done in the past.
Okay, got it. So it's
Yeah.
just like an engine to, like, create and edit and generate and stuff.
Well, you can.
actually, like, output, you send it.
Now you can definitely output to multiple monitors. I'm just trying to figure out the best way to do that for you all right now. It's not something I plan to go over in the
Okay, I was just
course.
curious, like, how to.
Yes, you can do that. You have to send it to multiple windows. I don't really want to go over it right now because it's going to take a while for me to figure it out, and I'd rather just get back to you when I have the actual information. But yeah, you can totally do that. So, any other questions or issues that we want to look at? Is that all, people? Are you sure? Anything like on your projects that you want to talk about that you're worried about?
How do we import new objects again from like an external source?
That's a good question. All right, cool. So if you wanted to get an external, when you download the external, so say,
You're not mirrored.
Yeah, you know
Oh,
the one on the projector. right?
sorry, hold on.
Ah, there we go.
Great. So say I wanted to get the OSC route object, which is an OSC routing object. It's part of,
Funny that.
yeah, it's part of the CNMAT objects library, which is done by like the University of Berkeley. So if you searched for OSC route, there it came up with this CNMAT. I go to this website, and actually I want their entire library. Whatever. Can I just download it? Let's see. Oh, download. Here. This is the complete package right here. So you download this. You would download the Windows one, but you download that, and geez, I didn't know it was so huge. After those download, you would unzip them, and the you'd have a directory full of whoops, I'm in the wrong directory. Max 7 library. Oh, I guess I don't have these on this computer. I do want to download these. All right, I guess I'll wait for these to finish downloading. It's really easy in Max 7. You just have to move that directory into your Max 7 library directory, and then reopen Max, close Max and reopen it, and then anything that's in there will get added to your objects. So as soon as this damn thing finishes downloading, I'll show you that. Great. So now this is done downloading. I unzip it. Now I can drag it over here to Max 7 library, and now it's in there. You'll see these are the actual objects. They're .mxo, and then .maxhelp is the help file for the object. You're not required to have a max help object, but it sure helps when you do. So now that I have that, I think I think I have to restart. Let's see if I don't. Maybe I don't. OSC-route. Oh yeah, I don't even have to restart. There it is. Now I have this OSC route object. And if you had a max help file, you can get the help file for it.
And you drop that in which library?
Max documents, Max 7 library. On Max 6 and before, you had to put it in your applications Max 6 Cycling 74 directory. Any other questions? All right, so we have some extra time. I just wanted to go over the basics of what you're going to need to do to turn in your final mixer next class. Remember, we're taking what we worked before and we're going to update it to be using slabs and textures and adding effects, which we just went over today. So I was going to show you the basics of how to add that in so you guys will have the tools to do your final. So let's make a new file. New patcher, and let's call this file save as. Oh, actually, let's not start with a blank one. Sorry, cancel. Let's open our old let's start with the engine. Open 12.2 engine.
I don't think we made a 12.2.
Or whatever the 12 point whatever engine.
We only have interactive examples and shaders. Well,
Sorry.
It'll be 11.
Even
11 was the last engine we made.
Whatever the last engine we made was. What was it?
11.2.
11.2 engine. Yeah. I had a better looking one than this somewhere. Where'd it go? Ah. Let's start with the additive mixing engine. I think that one worked a little better. All right. So 11.2 additive mixing engine. Okay. So what we need to do is remember we had and go ahead and open let's save this first. Save as and change the directory to class 13 and call it 13.1 or 13.2. Additive mixing engine. Okay. Go ahead and open your 11.2 interface. Where's mine? 11.2 interface. Yeah. And put it in presentation mode. And then we should have this, I showed you guys this little thing that would allow you to show these secondary set of sliders that we're going to use for effects. This is where we can use those. So I believe what's coming out of those are, go ahead and on this interface, pass a message from this first slider to from the output of this first B patcher with this first slider, and then send that into a message, and then let's see, switch over to your effect sliders, and then move one of your effect sliders around. So that's what that is sending out. We're sending FX1-1 and then the value, and then the second row, if I go down here, it should be FX2, and it's not, so I got to fix that. We'll fix that in a minute, but that's the value. But the way those work. So that's what those send. So we need to route for 1 underscore fx1 and 1 underscore fx2 to get those values on the other side where it comes out from our UDP receive. So we route all these different things. We could just add on to this big long route chain, but things would get unwieldy pretty quickly. I'm just going to add another UDP receive down here with a new route. So anything that comes in from this UDP will also be coming in from this one, but because we're only looking at these specific things, it's not gonna. We can have more than one of these receives. On this one, we're looking for 1 underscore fx 1 dash, and I think the sliders we just did dash 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1 underscore fx 1 dash 1, 1 underscore fx 1 dash 2, 1 underscore fx 1 dash 3, 1 underscore fx 1 dash 4. Yeah, and then we also had, I remember, a bypass. 1 underscore fx dash, or fx1 dash bypass. All low caps on the bypass part. So if I had a message down here and I attached to this and I moved this value, it should be routed through there, and you see it is, and I get this 41. I already know off the bat that's not the right kind of values. We should be dealing with floats and not integers. So we'll have to fix that when we fix our movie vowels here in a minute. All right, but at least we have the initial routing done. So now what we can do, now we have all those different values. We have to have each one of those go to, this is kind of hard to describe. Go to remember that system that we built earlier today that created that dynamically updating parameter message? We basically have to build one of those for each of these sliders. And there's a way to do that. Well, first of all, we're going to have to tell, we wanted to be able to add the ability to choose an effect for the slab. Let's just open our movie vowels. I think it's time to go ahead and add and update some things on that. So open 11.2 movie vowels. I don't know where mine is. I have to find it. 10.2 movie vowels. I guess we never did rename that. 10.2 movie vowels. And let's see. We're going to add a U menu on top of each of these sets of sliders. So first of all, we need to make some space. Let's select all these sliders. And now that we have them all selected, make sure your toggles are not selected. And then now that you have them all selected, now resize them so that they all resize together. Make them a little bit shorter. Just a little bit. And I'm going to move these down to there and move these down to here. And I'm going to add a U menu here. And on this U menu, go into the inspector for it and set it to auto-populate. and change the collection name to shaders. Like that. And I'm going to duplicate this and put another one down here. Okay, and now okay, let's see. Now, first of all, let's fix these messages that are wrong here, because this one said this whole set of messages should be for FX2 and not FX1. So let's change these to FX2 if your guys aren't that way already. And all of these, select all your sliders again, and go down here to click on float output and put the range to 2, period, and output minimum of -1, period. That way all of these will now do a float output from -1 to +1. Okay, we're going to have to add a new one of these little messages for this shader, for what shader we're choosing. So I believe that we just need to do, here, just duplicate this FX1 bypass and change the word bypass to shader. Make sure there's no spaces before the $1. I mean, there's a space between shader and $1, but that should be the only space. And then pass from the middle output of the CC alpha glue or whatever your shader item is to the message you just made. And the same for down here. We need to do the same thing. We duplicate this and make sure we call this one FX2 shader. And middle outlet of that. There we go. Okay. And then we'll need to pass the output of those messages to the output of this bpatcher. Okay. And then I discovered that you'll notice that depending on whatever shader you're choosing, the scaling of these sliders may be completely wrong. And so I decided to add one more set of objects that is a multiplication thing to add a multiplier to that slider. So if the slider by default is only going to go from -1 to +1, but what if your parameter doesn't start showing up until it gets a value of 20 or something like that? Then you could add a multiplier of like 10 or something like that, and then when you go up to the top of the scale, you're at 20 or 30 or whatever So let's do a collection of multipliers. So we just do multiply, and then let's start with a 1 period. Give it an initial value. That way we set it to float output. And we're going to need one of these for each slider. So let's duplicate 2. I'm going to duplicate both of these to 4. And now I'm going to take all 4 of these and duplicate it for the other set down here. And now here, I think it'll be less confusing to just delete these and reconnect things. So delete the outputs coming from each of those sliders. Oh, it's going to be hard down here because of all of our little lines. Carefully delete the outputs from the bottom sliders. All right, now pass these into the first inlet of each of these multipliers. And this same with the bottom ones. Okay, and then and then take the output of each of these multipliers and pass it into each one of those messages where it went before. So this first one is fx1-1, second one's going to be 1-2, and so on. 3 and 4, and then down here, fx2-1, 2-2, 2-3, and 2-4. And then I can move all of these over a little bit, get it closer to here. And then we'll have actually have a collection of float number boxes and pass that into the right inlet of each of these multipliers. 2, 3, and 4. Right inlet, right inlet, right inlet. Same thing down here. Right inlet, and so on. Now, lock your patcher, and we want all of those chords that we're seeing right now to disappear. So to get those to disappear, I think they all kind of overlap at this area here. So I can swipe across this, and I should be able to get all of them. And now I can do a Command K. That does a hide on lock, and now they disappear. So we don't see that when the patch is locked. Okay. Think that's all we need on this. Oh, I believe we never gave these scripting names so that we can automate them with our pattern storage. So we should go and give these each scripting names. Each one of these sliders, go into Inspector, and down here under var name, script name, we could call this one pound1. What did we call, what was it that we said? Pound1 fx1-1. So pound1 underscore fx1-1 is its scripting name. And then this would be, so I'm just going to copy this. And this one would be 1-2. And so on. 3, 4. And then down here, this one's going to be 2-1. 2, 2. 2, 3. 2, 4. Let's make sure our bypasses are also have a scripting name. They don't. Let's add that, fx1-bypass. fx2-bypass on the other one.
Still need the number, the
Pound1, yeah. You don't technically need it, but it really helps when you're looking at your storage slots to know what's what. If you're storing everything and recalling everything anyway, you don't really care what the tags are. But if you if you're trying to debug it, you'll care. So it helps to put those patcher arguments in for debugging and just to look at your storage slots and know what you're looking at. All right, I think that's all we're going to need for this. So now save as on this. Change your directory to class 13 and call this class 13.2 movie vals.
13.3?
No, I usually, when they're all part of the same patch, I usually give them the same point number because you're running all three of them every time you're running this patch. Okay, and then we just need to in our interface patch. Oh my God, what happened there? Shift Z. In our interface patch, we need to add one more offset message to be able to go over to that third area to be able to set our multipliers. Oh, and that reminds me, actually, if you've already closed your movie vals, open it again. Make sure you're opening your 13.2 movie vals. We want to be able to, we want these to be 1 by when we first load the file. So let's put a load bang, a new object load bang, and send that to a geez Louise. No, wait, I can't do that because if I move that stuff around, then all my offset messages would be off. All right, I'll just put it over here. Load bang, send that to a message of 1 period, and then attach that to all of these boxes. And then I'm going to re-grab all this stuff again and hide unlock again.
What's the command number again?
Command K. And if you wanted to, you could do the same thing. I keep forgetting that this rate, we almost always want this rate to be at least 1 and not 0. So I could do the same thing down here and put it in the rate. So that way the rate is always 1 by default. But again, I want to hide this patch cord unlock. There we go. All right, now I can save this. So then we just have to send it the right offset messages. So we have in our 13 point, have we saved a 13.2 interface yet?
That's what we're working on.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so on our 13.2 interface, save as 13.2. We just need to add a third option. So right now we just have a toggle which only gives us 2 options. So we could change this to a radio group or something else, or 1, 2, 3. I don't know. Let's do a. I like the radio groups. Unfortunately, will only do vertical orientation, which is really annoying because I wanted it to be horizontal. But there's an object that's basically the same called a matrix control, but you can do more than 1 row. But we're just going to do matrix. We're just going to do 1 row so that it's like a radio group. So matrix control at rows 1 at columns 3, because we want 3 different options. And then to make it like a radio button, so only one of them can be active at once. I think it's called at at 1/matrix. Just start typing 1 and you'll see it. 1/matrix 1. And then it gives you this thing, and this will act like a radio group. But it will be sideways instead of
Oh yeah, one forward matrix.
1 / matrix, yeah. It should just start auto-filling for you, so you don't have to type the whole thing.
One? Is there something?
Huh?
1 / matrix. That's it?
No. What did it say on the autofill?
1 /
Ma-
matrix int. What's the int?
Oh, 1. Yeah, 1. Meaning true. Okay. Now we can, from this, what's the message that comes out of this? I think it actually gives you, like 001, 101, and 201. We don't care about those 0 1s. All we want is that 0, 1, and 2. So to slice those off, there's an object called ZL slice, SLICE 1, because we only want the first thing. And that now it should be a 0, 1, or a 2. 0, 1, and 2. Great. And just select, look at my notes for a second. Yeah, so change this select 1 to a select 1 and 2. And move the trigger bang over to the last outlet, because that's if it doesn't match, so that's if it's a 0. Then it does that offset 0, 0. And then we just need to figure out what the offset message needs to be for the middle option for 2, which on mine, it depends on where your things line up on that movie vowels. On mine, it's like 418, negative 418, 418, 0, and pass that in there. And then connect that to the, if it matches 2. And now, and then pass this, get rid of this toggle, and pass the ZL slice into that select. Well, it used to be 418. Oh, I think because my screen resolution is different, so everything's weird now. 400? 300? Where are they? Oh, I never loaded my new value. That's why. This bpatcher still has the old file. I need to update it with the new file because I changed its name from 10.2 to 13.2. So patch, not var name, actually patcher file for each of these needs to be the new one that we just saved. Instead of 10.2 movie vowels, should be 13.2 movie vowels. Where the hell did I save it? Maybe I didn't name it right. Oh, I'm in class 11, that's why. 13.2 movie vowels. Yeah. Offset 418 on this one. Boom. This version I went ahead and put in comments so that I know what I'm looking at. You would probably want to do the same thing on yours.
Where I just can't tell that offset 418. What is that going into?
That's going into the bpatcher, which is in our bpatcher that's going into this patcher object, which will allow you to scroll it over and stuff like that by sending those offset messages. And so now I could clean this up. Jesus. We have just enough time, I think, to show you what I wanted to show you. I'm going to try to make these as narrow as possible. and I can add this to presentation, Shift and Command P, and actually get rid of all of these and duplicate this and replace the controller for each of these sliders. You'll have to make sure to pass all 3 of these messages into the inlet, the offset 00, negative 400 and something, negative 225 or something, whatever your values are. Okay, so now all of these I can think, but I have to update and load the new vpatcher file for those. Okay, so that's that. The last thing I wanted to show you in the time that we have left, so that will give you that multiplier, and it'll also give you these values, and the values should now make sense. Let's look at the engine again. So make sure you're saving this as 13.2 interface. So we have the values coming in, and this is for the first effect, right? Because all of those sliders were called 1FX1-1 through 1FX1-4, and also we also have a bypass. We can have 2 different routes here and have the last outlet going into this route. This is for the second effect set, and we just need to change all of these to 1FX2-1 through 4, 1FX2-2, 1FX2-3, 2-4. And 1FX2 bypass. So all your first slider values will be coming out of here. And bypass would be coming out of this. See, those are those values. So we just need to do the same thing we did before and either build some kind of dynamic system, or if you want, in your guys' case, to keep it simple, you could just choose what effect these are going to. Let's see, what did I do? Oh, okay, yeah, I see what I did. Boy, that's a lot of coding. All right, well, it's the same kind of thing we did with the route param list thing, right? Read 1 bypass route FX1. Right, okay. All right, so what we need is we have the movie playback. We need our JIT-GL slab. JIT-GL slab. And make sure you have it in the same universe. Right, JIT-GL render 4-channel universe. Let's put this 4-channel mixer. 4CH mixer. That. Now we can, let's see here. So, did we, oh, I know what we're missing. In this route, we're missing the shader. So, let's put route, I'm sorry, we already have route. Route 1, to the beginning of this list, add 1_FX1 dash, what do we call it, shader. So the shader file name will be coming out of this first outlet. So then we just have that go to a message that says read $1. So then it reads that shader into the slab. But then we also want it to, we have to create those dynamic messages. And remember, to do that, we sent it a get param list message. So we can add that to this message by saying read $1, comma, and then on a separate message, I mean, that signals Max that, hey, do this first and then send this as a second message. Get param list. So read $1, then get param list. Then we know that the param list is going to come out this outlet, like we saw before. And we can route param list and we have 4 sliders. So let's just take, if the parameter, if the slab, if the shader happens to have more than 4 parameters, oh well, we only have 4 sliders in our interface. So let's slice off anything after 4. So ZL slice 4. So that will give you the first 4, and if there's anything more than that, it just cuts them off. And then this is what we did earlier. Then we iter through that list of items. And then we need to prepend the word param. Ugh. Frickin' margin space. Grab a comment, drag it way down if you want more margin space. Prepend param. And then append the $1. This is what we saw earlier today. Append $1. So that will create the right message, but we need to send those message into 4 different message boxes, 1, 2, 3, and 4, so that each of those slider outputs can go to the right message. And in order to do that, we need it to build a system that goes out the first outlet, and then the next message goes out the second outlet, and the next message goes out the third outlet in a round robin style. There's an object that does that for you already, and it's called cycle. Cycle round robin messages to outlets. You have to tell it how many outlets you want, 4, and then there's a mode as a second argument. If you leave it by default, if there were only 2 items or 3 items, it would go out the first, out the second, out the third, and then it would wait. And the next time you sent it, it would send that thing out the 4th. We want it to do it. We want it to reset and go by an event-sensitive type of thing, where it, if it gets 3 messages in rapid succession and then nothing, the next time it gets messages, it starts back at 1 instead of going to 4. And so to do that, we just give it that mode of 1 to specify its mode output, its special mode, event-sensitive special mode. Okay, cycle 4, 1, and then send each of those to 4 different messages. They don't need to have the letter M in them. Stop it. Whatever. Message. There we go. So, but because this is something else that was weird. I found out that because our messages have spaces in it, cycle treats those as if they're separate messages. You have to go, Alana. That's fine. I will have this on the recording, so you can just check in on it. Great. You have to go too. Yeah. Oh, grab the thing. And then we have, those of you who have to go, you can go ahead and go. I would definitely check in on the website with this. I'll get it online today. It's going to take a while to upload, so it might not be on until later tonight, but I'll get it on there.
Actually,
Yeah.
we need to check in with the projectors and other things.
Okay.
So maybe I'll
Email me and we need to set up a meeting. This is almost done, guys. Whoever can stay, I would encourage that. All right. So cycle 4.1. In order to keep those messages from breaking up into different outputs, to keep them grouped together as a message, we're going to treat them as a symbol. So we can use a toSymbol object. From toSymbol into the cycle, get rid of this one. And then on the output, we use a from symbol. Whoops, not a message, an object. From symbol. And then we'll need 4 of these, unfortunately. And then attach each of those to the right inlet of each of these message boxes. Left inlets go, then for each of these route shader things up here, those go into the left inlet of those message boxes. And then the output of those boxes get patched back into the shader, into the slab, like this. Okay, and then to clean this up, I'm going to do a Command Y, drag these down and over like this. Shit. Close enough. Come on, go. Mine doesn't want to move. Whatever. Okay. So that's part of it. Now we just need to the slab. So that's the first slab, and we need to duplicate all of this for the second slab. And then attach them together, and then send the texture out. So let's see here. Oh, and the bypass. We didn't do the bypass. So here's first of all, this route needs to be moved over to the last outlet of this route. This is bypass here. So bypass. We just need that to go to create a gate. So that will be sending a 1 or a 0. So just add 1 to that, +1, space 1. And then have a gate gate 2, 1. 2 inlets. First one is open by default. This goes to the gate position, and the output goes into the first slab, yes, because by default that's open, and then if that ends up being 1, meaning we're bypassing it, then we go to the second output, which will go straight to the second slab instead of going through the first slab. Does that make sense? As much as it can. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, it would have helped to have another week.
You already are going 2 weeks longer than everything else, Jackson.
I know.
All my classes are going this long.
Good. I'm not the only one. Good.
It's super, I can't keep up.
All right. Then we just okay. So we need a second slab. Gate 2-1. Where is the texture coming in? We never did have the texture come in. That's right. Okay. We need to have the textures come in. These, we just had to add an outlet to each of these subpatchers in our movie playback.
Where is that?
Subpatchers movie playback right here. Let's change the name here at texture name. Actually, let's not. To save time, let's not. We don't need to change the name. Just add an outlet and send the texture out the outlet. Okay. Once you have one of these the way you want it, you can, if you want. Well, actually, we're only doing one right now, but you'll have to do that to all four of them. Right now, we can send this to the let's call it send 1_text. This is text, not text. So the texture from the first movie player is going to come out through here. We can receive that down here where our slab is. That gets received into the slab. So now that texture will go. Now we just need to send that texture out to our second slab. So let's go ahead and make our second slab really quick just by duplicating all this stuff. Here, let's just get rid of this. It'll be quicker to just get rid of all this and just change the labels. So duplicate everything, including the route. Oh, you don't need that window.
Where's the receive going to? Sorry.
Which receive?
The receive one text.
Goes into the first slab.
Okay.
Duplicate all of this. Bring it over here for our second slab. I don't need this receive one text anymore. I want to take the output of this slab and go to the input of this slab. Sorry, it's a little messy. The version on the website won't be so messy. And then change this route here. We gotta just change these from FX1 to FX2 on everything. It still should be 1_, but it just should be 1_ FX2. 3. Whoops, sorry, that shouldn't be FX3, that should be FX2. So we only have 2 FX. 1FX2, 1FX2-3, 1FX2-4.
Is the bypass just FX?
1FX2 bypass. All right, that now make sure, and then pass this route into this route. The last outlet of the first route into the first inlet of the second route.
Can you scroll up just a bit? Sorry. Oh, okay.
Okay, and then so now we have our texture from our movie players coming in here, coming into this slab. It can either go through the slab or get routed directly to the next slab. So let's attach this second outlet of this gate, bypasses this slab and goes directly to the second slab. But actually, no, it shouldn't. It shouldn't go to the second slab. It should go to the second gate because we might bypass the second slab too. So go into the inlet of this gate, and actually this texture that we passed from the first slab to the second slab should actually go into the this gate right here instead, like that. Okay, that way you can bypass this, and then the output of this send let's call it final _1 because it's the first movie texture. Comes out of the slab to this, and then also from the gate to this in case we want to bypass that slab. Okay, and then,
Wait, where is it coming out of the gate? Oh, second outlet.
yeah. And then we just receive this final up at the movie player. I mean, up at the video plane for channel 1. And get rid of whatever. Yeah, that should work. So this is only one channel. You'll have to be able to do all of this on all of the channels. But once you get one of them working right, and you encapsulate all this shit, so it's not a whole bunch of lines going everywhere, it'll be pretty easy for you to then take that encapsulation and just copy and paste and change the parameters to make them work for all the other movie players. Let's make sure that this is actually working. Let's take a look. Yeah, right? Route, Patcon. Yeah, it should work. All right. Let's see. So for the engine, I got to turn the engine on. Engine is on. I have to read my movie. Okay, so now I'm using my interface somewhere. Where's my interface? There it is. So if I go into oh, that's something. Wait, first of all, one of these isn't. Oh, I do have 4 of them. Okay.
What's the key to make things show up in presentation?
Shift Command P. So that's for this slider. And then these are probably for the other 3 in order, I'm guessing. I'll figure it out in a second. Yeah, great. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to read a file. Is it playing? No. Why aren't you playing? B-ball. Oh wait, but I don't have it up. I don't have the, it could be playing. Yeah, it was playing. It just was down. Haha. All right. So, and if now if I wanted to go in and change my effects, I can change this radio button to the center position and choose what effect I want to put on it. Fisheye. And these are my parameters for that effect. Now this is where that scaling comes into play, because these these don't look very good. We don't want to see all this. We want more parameter than it's giving us. So that's why I would want to, in this, I could go over and change the multiplication for slider 2. And I'm going to set this multiplication value to be something like 20. And now when I go back and I change the slider 2, now I get a lot of effect. And it gives me an actual like fisheye kind of feeling. So that's why I added those slider multipliers, is because you never know if you're going to choose different shaders. You never know, what kind of scaling you're going to want. So this gives you the opportunity to adjust that. And because we gave all of those variable names and scripting names, we're able to store all of those in our pattern storage for our queuing. All right. That one was a beast.
I gotta go. Thanks, Jason.
No, that's about it. Just let me know, guys, if you want any meetings for your final projects or for this final mixer. I'm available. I got lots of time. Email me.